What is up, everyone? Nick here. Welcome to the show if you're new. Thanks for coming back if you're not. If you have tuned into my show before, you will be well aware that I am extremely bullish on therapeutics and pharmaceuticals addressing current unmet medical needs. I do have a degree in science, and I am always researching under-the-radar therapeutics that could be the next big therapy. A ton of our previous plays are up massive over the course of the past year as investors are realizing the huge potential that pharma holds in our rapidly advancing scientific landscape. Maybe one of the fastest growing and highly anticipated areas of pharma research is psychedelics and previously overlooked compounds such as psilocybin. This has become one of the hottest compounds as the research community uncovers more potential benefits almost on a daily basis. This is driving investors into a feeding frenzy on their stocks, shooting up valuations across the board. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing a fascinating play in the therapeutic and biotech space, a company that holds huge potential as our world continually evolves and forges into the unknown. Welcome to the show. My name is Nick. Let's dive right in. Before we get to it today, make sure to always come to your own conclusions. Penny stocks do have more potential reward. However, this is typically paired with increased risk. Disclaimer, this is a sponsored video. Make sure to do your due diligence, gain as much insight into a company and stock before allocating capital. I am not a financial advisor, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. I'm first going to go over the company, who they are, what they do. I'm then going to go over where they see their therapy moving in the future, the potential they hold, and then finally cover their analytics, statistics, balance sheet, and charting. Alright, so the company of today's episode is called Trip Therapeutics Incorporated, trading on the OTC markets or over-the-counter under ticker symbol TRYP. They were founded only in 2019, so very young, lots of room to run and grow here. They are based in two of my favorite places, beautiful British Columbia and San Diego, so great geographic exposure. Now, what this company is doing that I absolutely love and always look for in young pharmaceutical companies is targeting unmet medical needs. One might say they're forming a niche. What Trip Therapeutics is doing is developing psychedelic compounds targeting diseases using their proprietary formulations. And yes, you heard me right, psychedelic formulations. Psilocybin has been touted as an emerging prospect for years now, and this anticipation and excitement around the compound is only growing as additional research and studies continually emerge. The FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, recently granted psilocybin, and I quote, breakthrough therapy status, unquote, for medical indications. This move by the FDA is to typically accelerate the usually sluggish process of drug development and review. This is a very good sign for the entire psilocybin industry and the companies developing these early formulations. We have seen other psychedelic stocks absolutely surge in value over the past few years, and since this statement was made, early investors are securing positions at what could be extremely undervalued entry points in relation to potential future gains. Now, Trip Therapeutics is targeting the PFN program of psilocybin for neuropsychiatric disorders, which includes treatment for chronic pain and eating disorders. These are huge markets within unmet healthcare areas that their advanced and experienced team sees their differentiated formulation making a positive difference. For the past few decades, our society has stigmatized the use of psychedelics, and even just a few years ago, many couldn't even imagine how far the research community would take this compound. We are already seeing positive clinical studies and research pouring in, propelling the compound forward. Many see this as the beginning of an entire industry that could dominate healthcare within the coming decades. Now, Trip Therapeutics' position is diversified, and I do see tons of potential in the markets they are targeting. The company has two main target programs covering four main indications. Their PFN program includes their TRP 8802 product covering eating disorders, fibromyalgia, and additional chronic pain disorders. Their TRP 8803 product covers proprietary formulation and delivery. More on this shortly. Now, the company is seeking approval from the FDA to proceed directly into phase 2 clinical trials. Their compounds have historically high safety profiles, and thus going straight into phase 2A could help speed their research. Now, what's more is that TRIP Therapeutics anticipates to initiate at least 2 phase 2A studies for their PFN program in this year, with their INDs or investigational new drug applications submitted in Q3. Now, if you've invested in therapeutic and pharma companies in the past, you will understand how important these studies and results are for both the company and the resultant stocks. It really is a case of the early bird gets the worm. The company is making rapid moves and tons of partnerships on the open markets. They have entered into agreement with Albany Molecular Research Incorporated for R&D and GMP manufacturing services to produce the synthetic psilocybin product. Now, what is huge for TRIP is that they expect to have their first batch of GMP product in the 4th quarter of this year. This would represent the only known supply of synthetic psilocybin produced in the entire United States. This, in my opinion, really gives them a head start on other pharma companies. Now, something I don't hear many others talking about is the potential for TRIP to be acquired by a big pharma company looking to expand their diversification and increase their pipeline. This happens all the time in the pharmaceutical industry, essentially a big pharma company swooping in and buying up nanocap companies, increasing their exposure. They are also making great partnerships. They have recently partnered with Dr. Jennifer Miller at the University of Florida. She will be the principal investigator of their initial phase 2A clinical trials for the TRP 8802. This could potentially target binge eating disorder and hypothalamic obesity. Now, moving into the analytics and statistics of the company and diving deeper into their valuation. TRIP is within a very competitive market, however, are making fast strides even against their larger competitors. And what's interesting is the unmet medical needs they are targeting are relatively uncrowded by their peers. A perfect unmet niche. I really do think targeting pain treatment is a great play by this company. It's a huge market and it currently isn't being addressed appropriately. Only around 10% of patients suffering with fibromyalgia adhere to their treatments after 1 year, and many unfortunately move to addictive opioids. This is a market expected to exceed $3.6 billion in valuation by 2026. If we look at their valuation compared relative to their peer groups, we immediately see they are quite attractive. They currently have a market cap hovering around 32 million, so they are a nanocap company. They are substantially off their 52-week high of $1.20, so lots of room to run here. They have 66.668 million shares outstanding, have a total cash position of around 6.75 million, and a phenomenal current ratio of 5.44, indicating more assets relative to liabilities, something I always look for in a company. Now, they have not generated revenue as of yet, which is not out of the ordinary for a nanocap startup pharma company. However, it should be noted and taken into account appropriately. Now, one of the main reasons I really do find this company attractive is their robust management team. This carefully curated team has a plethora of experience and knowledge within the field. They have a team of world-class scientific advisors from all over North America. Dr. Robin Carhart-Harris is a global expert on the use of psychedelics for medical indications. Dr. Rachel Wervik is a leading researcher in genetic development, including eating disorders. Dr. Joel Castellanos is a leading chronic pain researcher and physician. Dr. Derek Ott, director of UCLA Pediatric Neuropsychiatry. And Dr. William Schmidt, an expert in drug development for pain indications. This is, in my opinion, the right team. Their management team is equally as experienced. Greg McKee is the company's chairman and CEO with over 15 years experience as CEO leading publicly traded companies. Dr. Jim Gilligan is the president and chief scientific officer with more than 35 years experience in R&D, clinical development, and manufacturing. Luke Hayes is the company's CFO with over 20 years life science experience in finance and venture capital. The list really goes on here, a ton of great personnel leading this team. I really do like their direction here. Now, moving to the stock price, we have seen it waver in its short time being publicly traded. It's currently hovering around 50 cents. Now, I do think we are still in front of the massive wave of psilocybin therapies and investor interest coming in the short-term future. Scientists and researchers are continually discovering new ways this unique compound can be used to treat unmet medical needs. This could be massive. I really do think TRIP Therapeutics is ahead of the curve, a position I always like to find myself in when investing. Anyways, everyone, make sure to always come to your own conclusions, formulate your own decisions. Remember that although penny stocks do typically have more potential reward, that this is typically paired with increased risk. Do your due diligence and gain as much research as possible before allocating any capital on the stock market. That is your duty as a smart and calculated investor. Anyways, everyone, I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Happy trading. Cheers.